You are down with.
Yo, Dave,
What up?
drop the beat.
We like it old school. You know how we do this.
What you listening to?
The brothers from the 818.
91331.
Pacoima, California.
What's up, Dave?
What's up, Caleb?
The real, the raw, the relevant.
No script.
We invite you into our conversation. What's going on, people?
Let me just say this.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
You are down with.
The brothers from the 818. What's going on, people? What's going on? It's your man Dave, two times, kicking it back on the brothers from the 818. I got my man Caleb in the house. What's going on with you?
Dave, two times. Hey, I got a new name for you, man. Because you're so much, you're a wordsmith. And because your last name is Smith,
Right.
I'm thinking about calling you Wordsmith instead of Dave two times. I play on words, you'll play on words. I don't know.
You can throw it out there. I don't know if it's gonna stick, but we got people to talk to, so we'll see. I was thinking about your name today. I was like, my man Caleb, but that don't sound good in the first person. I was kind of digging where you was at before, just Caleb. Just keep it simple, and that's what's that's what's up. Especially, I didn't even wear it. I got a new design in the merchandise shop for the BFT 818 logo, the one you happen to be rocking right now, and I got some personalization with it. Yeah, so you gotta look real good. That's black on black, but black on black is hot, man. I'm telling you, people be sleeping on it because they're like, you can't see it. Be like, that's kind of the point. It's just supposed to blend in. So that's what's up with that. But yeah, man. So what's good? What's been going on with you?
I'm rocking some new gear.
Okay.
I'm rocking this shirt says just simply from the 818. I'm sorry, from the 91331.
I like that.
You got a shirt on too. I think your shirt says.
My shirt is not one of ours. It's I didn't choose to be black. The rest says I just got blessed.
Yes.
I want to talk about that too. So let's we'll hit that up as well. When I was in Vegas, I wore this shirt, and just watching the expressions from people was interesting, just to see the reactions, and that's why I did it, just to see what was going on. In Vegas, people are liable to wear anything or nothing. So right. If you're gonna do it and make a statement, that's as good of a place as any to get down.
Right. Well, you got reactions for sure.
Yeah.
What's going on with me? Man, home alone, man. Well, home alone without the wife.
Right.
Children are upstairs. Children are here. Full-time daddy duty. Bouncing around off the walls. They're bouncing off the walls. I'm bouncing off the walls, trying to catch them. But life is good, man. It's sometimes, and we've said it before. Sometimes when it gets rough, I just kind of dig down deep, and I just relish those moments because it's one-on-one time with the children. It sharpens my parenting skills. I have to also be mindful of childhood development and where they're at and which stages they're in, and also I need to check myself. Hey, that's a 5-year-old. That's a 2-year-old. Then this is normal behavior. They're supposed to be pushing some buttons, and I got a greater appreciation from of that than a lot of people. But also, I am mindful of the way what I'm modeling to them is what they will carry with for the rest of their lives, and I'm trying to do my best, man. My man Alan Michael Graves always says I'm the best damn daddy that I know. He's talking about himself,
Right.
And that's a powerful statement. That's a powerful statement because I know a lot of daddies and I know a lot of fathers are putting in the work. But I'm trying to be the best damn daddy that I can be. and hopefully, shoot, I'm doing the work, man. What about you, Dave? What's going on?
Present company not included. I know a lot of fathers that feel like they're just not cutting it, right? When they dig deep, and I'm talking fathers that have mothers in the homes as well, and they feel like they know they're not doing enough. They're just doing their part, and they're honest about it. So for Alan Michael to say, hey, I'm the best damn daddy I know, I respect that. I say the same thing. But even when I say that, I recognize that there's some areas with my teenagers that I can do better. And when I recognize that, I try to do better as well. It's not just like, oh, well, they just going to be screwed up.
Yeah.
I try to raise healthy citizens, good humans, and give them a sense of intelligence, responsibility, integrity. And I know it's a bad word nowadays, but grit. I think you need to grow up with some grit. And they've said that nowadays the studies our children grow up with grit because they suffered through something, and that's not something we want to put our children through. And yeah, I think there's a degree of that was definitely true for you and I, but it's also developing resilience. And I think you don't have to necessarily suffer to develop resilience, which at the end of the day equals grit. So it's all good. It's all good, man. I enjoy that, and I appreciate hearing that you still hanging in there with your daddy daycare and Macaulay Culkin syndrome, being home alone. So that's all good.
There's some grit that I'm developing still as a parent, as an adult.
Right. No, I hear that. I hear that.
Yeah.
So for me, man, it's summer's coming to an end. I'm trying to get out and do some more. Took the family to Vegas. You knew that we talked about that last week. Did the '90s party. That was that was hot. This shirt I'm rocking right now. I wore that in Vegas and just checking the reactions of people. Man, it was interesting because I found myself in an elevator a lot more than I normally would have been with white families.
Yeah.
Right. And some of them were very cautious and stayed to themselves. One family turned their back and stared at the corners. Others were super engaged. Oh, hi, nice shirt, blah, 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 blah. And, just kind of, I won't even say testing the waters. They were just communicating, right? And I don't know whether they were communicating because they were just good people, or they were communicating because they were trying to see, where my shirt put me. And then I had a very interesting conversation with the brother who had on a "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" shirt.
Well, I'm Irish too, by the way.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. So he had a "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" shirt on. So he saw me in the elevator. He was like, "Yo, man, nice shirt." I was like, "Respect." I was like, "What's up with your shirt?" He's like, "Man, I just threw this on." And so I was like, "Okay, cool." And so he said, "What are people saying to you with you wearing that shirt?" I was like, "They ain't gonna say nothing to me. The bigger question is, what are people thinking? What are they, so forth." And I said, like your shirt. If I saw some white cat wearing a "Kiss Me, I'm Irish" shirt, I'm like, they're showing their Irish pride. What's the difference with my shirt? Right? And he says, well, people just don't think about it like that. He's like, I ain't speaking for myself, but people don't think about it like that. They think in terms of white and black. I was like, yeah, that's sad, right? I was like, that's kind of why I'm wearing it. I just want to see where people are going. Right? And that was my real. I just really want to see where people are going. If you think of this think of this country in terms of black and white, this shirt can be very polarizing, right? If you look at it from a mixture of all the people that are here, white people are grouped of, Italians, Germans, Irish people, Swedes, Canadians, a whole lot of different things. And if you want to rep your pride, you should be able to rep it, right? But for black folks black is a culture. For white folks, white is an identity that's encompasses a whole lot. So I thought the shirt was cool. I saw it. I was like, bet, I'm buying it. It was, and that's that. Bought it from a black-owned company, which was really nice. That even made me feel a little better. Try to support some of our people, and that's where I went.
Last year, this time, I saw a lot of "Make America Great Again" hats and "Drain the Swamp" and Donald Trump support and "Blue Lives Matter." When people decide in the morning that they're going to put on something, that either represents themselves or to get a reaction, they are also opening themselves up to that reaction, to someone responding back to, are you a Donald Trump supporter? What do you think about his politics? What do you think about this and that? Right. So I'm glad that you had this provocative conversation with people, even if you didn't have to say anything, right?
Right. Something was being said, for sure.
Right. Because people do it all the time. Like you said, just me, I'm Irish. People wear shirts and pins in support of a number of campaigns. What comes to mind is the LGBTQ. No one, I guess some people might, but it would be uncommon now for especially in Vegas, if someone reacted negatively to someone wearing a rainbow flag pin on their shirt.
Right.
And I think that someone should just recognize it. And if they have issues with it, they should respect it the same way that you and I will respect something else that we might be opposed to.
Exactly. Yeah. If I saw somebody that was wearing a shirt that was offensive, and offensive is the wrong word, wearing a shirt that caused me some offense, I'd be more inclined to respect it and keep going. I say it that way because if you're wearing an offensive shirt, then you got to be prepared for the backlash. And depending upon what type of offense you're pushing out there, I might want to give you some. Right.
But I've been offended by people's tire and whether it's a middle finger on a shirt or some wording. I'm real about my biases. Right. I don't like seeing people with their, especially men, with their drawers showing and their pants down. I mean, that's offensive to me. It's like, my children are right here. Now I have to talk to my 5-year-old about that.
But I think, again, there's things that are likely to cause offense, and then there's things that are offensive.
Right.
Right. And I'm drawing that line, and we could go back and forth over which is which. Someone wearing their pants around, they're behind and showing their drawers. My boys are older, and I've taught them well. So when they see it, they be like, "Dad, there it is." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what's appropriate about that, right?" Versus someone who is wearing a shirt that says something blatantly offensive and combative towards someone else, even if it's not me.
Yeah.
Right. When I see someone doing something like that, blatantly offensive and combative towards some other group, it offends me, and I'm just like, because if that's where you really at, then there's no barriers. Right. And you're not the type of person that I think should be able to walk around free like that. Right. You're inviting conflict into your life. And maybe you're a person who doesn't, shy away from conflict. I'm that same person. I don't back down. But at the same time, I don't put myself in situations where I'm like, come on, bring it. I got stuff to do.
And I got to get like you, man. I got to be like you, man. I need to get my weight up, man, so I could walk around with my chest out and be like, I wish somebody would.
Having a little few extra pounds does, stay off the average cat.
Yeah. Since I got out of the military, my weight's come down, my muscles come down, my fat just come up. So what are we talking about tonight, Dave?
Man, so, it's all on the same page, man. We just had our leadership week on the job.
Okay.
And every summer we're tasked with reading not a novel, but a book, an educational book. And we come together as a group and we discuss it amongst the leadership team. And this time we had 3 books, and you could choose which one. And 2 of them were centered around black kids, essentially, or the experience of being black. One was called "Why Are All the Black Kids Sitting Together in the Cafeteria?" And the other one was called Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man. So I read them both. My team asked me to lead a discussion on uncomfortable conversations with a black man, and I wasn't going to do a book report, right? And the opening of the book, he's clearly, his audience isn't black people. He says it in the book, for you white people that are reading this is what we're going to be talking about. And so I took on the challenge, and then not even challenge is the wrong word. I took on the opportunity, and as far as I'm concerned, knocked it out the park. But one, I wanted to share with you the book. It's by a cat named Emmanuel Acho, Acho. He used to play for the Eagles. I think he became the youngest network broadcaster, game sportscaster, whatever they call him, in the history of the NFL. After he after he finished his career, and then as a response to George Floyd being murdered, he wrote this book. And so it's good. When I saw people were reading it, I was quite interested, and people said, have you read it? And I was like, well, I don't want to read that. I'm not uncomfortable having any conversation with a black man. But I did read it, and it gave some very interesting points, because it gave you tools to have conversations with people who may be uncomfortable. Now, you know me. You've been knowing me for, almost 40 years. I don't think you've ever seen me uncomfortable to engage in conversation.
Wordsmith. I'm thinking of it.
There it is. But at the same time, knowing you've read it, not you, but the person who's coming to me with the questions, and I've read it, gives me a platform to stand on to say, okay, let's talk about this, let's talk about that, let's talk about that and the other. And so I sent you what I sent them. It's just kind of a synopsis of each chapter and what they look for and what's appropriate and what's not. And so just kind of want to jump through a couple of these with you tonight, and for you and for our guests just checking this out. Maybe it'll help you have some, to be better equipped to have some uncomfortable conversations with people who otherwise will not. Let me just say this before we jump off. A lot of people that look like you and I feel like that it's not our responsibility, being black people, to educate white people on what it means to be black.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't agree with that at all, although I don't fault another person for feeling that way, because when I hear that, I hear a tired voice, right? And so what I say, if not us, who? Because if you're going to assume knowledge, then you're the only fool in the room, right? Because if they want to have a conversation, it's obviously based upon, well, there's a lot of reasons why a person would want to have a conversation, but giving them the benefit of the doubt, if someone wants to have that conversation with you, it's because they want answers to questions that they don't know where else to get it. And I feel like if you want to know about manhood, you should talk to a man. If you want to know about what it's like to be president, talk to a president of whatever, right? If you want to know what it's like to be a rapper, don't talk to an R&B star, right? If you want to know what it's like to talk to a black man, or know what it's like to be a black man, talk to one, or a black woman, or whatever the scenario may be. And so I do feel like I personally, I won't put it on anyone else, I personally have taken up my mantle and my responsibility to open up that conversation to anyone who's bold enough to ask the question and patient enough to sit for the answer.
Yeah, man, I'm willing to engage in the discussion. I say all the time, man, I don't think of myself as, and I don't hear you saying this either, that you're an expert on anything. But I don't, I have my opinions about stuff, but I really respect the opinions of others and the freedom to make those decisions. And often I'm comfortable just listening, and that's why I call you the wordsmith. This past weekend I was joking with you about the comedic or the magicians, Penn and Teller, and I said, you're Penn and I'm Teller. I'm comfortable just sitting silent and listening and enjoying the show. But I'm curious about what conversations you got into with some of your colleagues at work.
So, let's go down the line. Obviously, we didn't get to go through the whole thing, but the first thing I addressed, go ahead.
Let me also state that I haven't read the book.
Okay.
And as we do from the Brothers A1A, it's unscripted. We're going to go. We're going to do it right now.
There it is. Hey, do you still have an Audible subscription?
Yes.
I'll send you a credit. I got like tons. I'm sure you can do that. If you're gonna spend any time in the car, I don't know what your car time is. My Audible book listening has decreased drastically because my commute is under 10 minutes. But when I was in the car for 30 minutes a day, it was easier. So if an audiobook would help you, it's a 3-hour audio read.
I don't know if I told you, but I'm planning on doing some traveling in the next couple of weeks. I might be on a plane, be sitting around the airport. So send it to you. Listen.
I'll do that. So the first thing, and I'm going to compare it to something. I'm black. I'm sure you knew that, right? But when I say I'm black, I mean I'm black versus African American, right? And I don't fault another person for wanting to be black or colored, or if you want to be called a Negro, that's on you. But for me, I like being black. And if you ask me, that's what I'll tell you. The problem is, or the challenge is, most people won't ask. They'll stutter through it until they find their way to you. So what's it like to be African American? And so I brought that up. I said, okay, I'm only bringing this up because it's hot topic right now. It's like, but the LGBTQ movement is strong, and that population is really starting to express themselves. They're starting to come out more. They're being more comfortable. They're demanding their rights, as so forth and so on. And I'm all for that. Do your thing, right? But the issue of pronouns has become very paramount. So now, anytime you fill out any state or government application, it asks you your pronouns. What do you go by, and so forth. So as a society, we've learned to accept that it's okay to ask, what are your pronouns?
Yeah.
Right? I had people look right in my eye and say, what are your pronouns? Right? With complete confidence. Right? And I'm like, for me, hopefully we don't lose too many members on this, but I'm like, what you see is what you get with me. I am he, him, and I don't even feel the need to say it. I am what I was born with, and that is my identity. So for anyone who's like, well, I was born with that too, and that's not my identity, okay, that's not yours. But I am what I was born with, and that is my identity. So that's why I say it that way. But those same people are uncomfortable asking a black person, are you black or African American?
Yeah. Regarding the pronouns and the movement, my organization went through that movement and asked us to do pronouns, asked us to put up some banners and added to our signature. I didn't do none of that. I didn't do none of that. I didn't want to play it. I didn't want to play it because I feel, I know I could be wrong. I feel like that's the flavor of the month, really. Sure. And when I don't say the month, but I'm talking about the 5-year span, right? In 5 years, people aren't going to be asking me what my pronouns are. And I think that we may have, as a society, as a country, we probably have taken it too far. I'm with you. I am what I am. I am what I was born with. Just call me him. And also my military foundation. I am a sir. I am a he. I am a him. I am a black man. I'm an African American man. I'm all of those things.
Right.
And often when I walk in a room, people make some assumptions about who I am, and they're probably right most of the time.
And that's what that leads into. What you assume is what you get. Now, this is one of them areas we're straying off the point, but I'm eager to find some representatives of the community, of the LGBTQ community, that would be willing to come on and let's just talk about it, because I think a lot of cases we're uneducated, right? We get our information from the media like everyone else. We're going to talk about implicit biases. We got some of them, right? And I would love to just get some education from the other side of what it means. Just like I have no problem explaining to somebody the power for me being a black man, I would love to hear someone else speak about their power as being a part of the LGBTQ community. And even when I say it that way, I don't even know if that's saying it properly. So I would really love for someone to come on and say, hey, I'll speak to it, right? And give them an open forum to do so.
I could help you with that. I could help you with that. In the industry that I work in.
All right, bet. And like I said, I know some people. I've reached out to them. Haven't got a lot of interest, but if we could do it, I think that would open up some channels. And I'm here to learn. I truly believe, and I said this to my class that I was teaching. People are people, and I love good people. Right, so whatever it is, whatever pronoun you go by, whatever color you happen to be, whatever nationality you happen to be a part of, I'm looking through all that, right? Which doesn't mean I don't see you, right? Because we're going to talk about that too. But I'm looking through all that because I'm just looking for people to help me get the job done. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, next came up implicit biases. Now, this one is always hard because, you start asking people when you're talking about race and race relations, to start talking about their implicit biases, and people get real uncomfortable because there's some things that they're afraid to say, right? And I was like, look, we all got them, right? And that's just the way it is. I was like, for example, if I'm waiting for an elevator, huh?
You give them your biases?
I'm giving you one that I brought up to them. If I'm waiting for an elevator and that elevator opens and it's just me and a white woman by herself, I'll wait for the next one.
Right. You don't want to see the clutching of the purse.
I want to see the clutching of the purse. I don't want it. And even if she is completely comfortable, even if she would even think of doing anything, unless I know her directly, I don't want to put her in any position where she would feel uncomfortable. I'll wait for the next one.
You know what? I heard that in a training, and it was a brother like yourself putting on the training, and he said the same, that he used to function that way, and then he said he switched it up and said, the hell with her feeling uncomfortable. She should be uncomfortable then, right? he should be uncomfortable with the fact that I haven't presented physically or in reality, I haven't presented any threat other than me being a black man. If she's if that's a threat in itself, then she should be uncomfortable. She should work through that. Why should I be uncomfortable due to her biases or her we might even call it racist beliefs, right? And maybe it's not a bias, it might just be racism. But I thought it was interesting that you mentioned it, because he said that he used to function the same way, and then he said, you know what, why should I be inconvenienced because of how she feels,
right?
So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, and again, I'm talking about my bias. So at the same time, if I walk in the elevator and there's a sister there, I'll walk in, hey sister, how you doing, right? And engage her, in a non-threatening way, but just, hey, like I would communicate with anyone, and I got no problem riding up in the elevator with a sister, right? If it's a young child, right? Again, things like that, my implicit biases are protecting myself, right? Because I don't want something to happen later and I look in my own head and be like, should have known better, right? I should have just backed that one up and took a second thought. And that's an implicit bias for me. Right or wrong, it's just one of those, that's how I protect myself. Now, again, if I know you, if it's multiple people, it's different. But one-on-one and I don't know the person, I'll wait for the next one.
And I got all kind of biases, man. Are we going to get into it? Are you going to share more than that, or should I just?
Well, I have all kind of biases. I'm sticking to race relations on that
Oh, okay.
because otherwise we're going. Yeah, we've done implicit biases before, but if you got one, hit me.
Well, we kind of talked about the sagging. I have, and I'm not ashamed to admit my biases, and I think that a lot of people get in their own way when they feel shame about and say, well, I don't have any biases. That's you. That's not me. And I have biases with marijuana smoke on people. I have biases about people with a lot of missing teeth. I have bias about extreme obese people. I have biases about people that have tattoos on their face, even
Right.
if it's a cute tattoo, right? Even if it's just a couple of stars and a unicorn, I don't care. What the hell are you putting a tattoo on your face? So another bias is someone that could assume, because these biases are without an interaction or conversation often. Someone that I could assume is gang affiliated. I'm gonna lean in on this one. The hell you gang banging in 2021, right? I know that the streets are still calling, man, but it's just my bias because I'm older. I'm 50 years old. And when I think about gangbanging, man, that was something that happened 30, 40 years ago.
I'm a pause it there because it's interesting you say that, and I'm glad to hear you say that because I feel the same way. Um, some, well, we're in July. This past November, my girl's birthday, Ilona, I bought her some red bottoms, right? Now, prior to that, I had heard of red bottoms. I didn't know what they were, right? And blah, blah, blah. And she happened to mention them. I looked them up. I was like, oh, okay, I see what they are. And I looked at the price. I was like, well, dang, now I see why you don't have any, right? I mean, they're not cheap. And so when I found them, I was like, well, let me look at the men's shoes, right? And we had this conversation before. How much would you actually spend on a pair of shoes? We talked about that back in the day.
Yeah.
So I found a pair of men's, the designer's called Christian Louboutin. Found a pair of men's shoes that were banging. I mean, on every level. And I was like, those are hot. And I went to the store, and in my mind, I wasn't buying nothing, right? But I was like, if I put these on my feet and they that tight, I might have to just pull out a credit card and be like, deal with it. They 18 bills, right? And man, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I expect you to do. I ain't spending 18 bills on those shoes, but I tried them on. The biggest size they have is a 13. I wear 14. They didn't fit, so it wasn't no big deal, right? It's like, all right, I ain't buying no too small shoes for nobody. I don't care what they look like. But anyway, the bottoms are red, and so I was online the other day and found a pair of shoes by this designer called Mark Nolan that actually has not only the red bottom but a red sole. It's like a black Oxford that's leather and suede, and the bottom is a red sole. Those shoes are banging. I bought them quick. Bill 15, bill 20, right? Nothing crazy. But anyway, red bottom. I was talking to you about them, and your first response was, those are tight. Watch the neighborhoods you wear them in, right?
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, this is 2021. Really? And I know it's true, and maybe it's just because I've been in the OC for too long. Maybe it's because I don't hang out in certain areas, so I don't see it day to day. But I'm like, if I'm wearing them shoes, I probably am rocking a suit, maybe, or at least a fly fit going somewhere, and I got to deal with some fool because the bottoms of my shoes are red? Really?
Yeah.
And I know it's true,
Yeah.
but that's offensive to me
Yeah.
in
You have to-
2020. In
you're gonna have
2021.
to- if you're rocking those shoes, you're gonna have to be mindful of the neighborhood you're in, regardless. If you pull up in something fly, if you're wearing something fly, because people are gonna say, well, all of that is making a statement, and so are those red shoes or red bottoms.
Right.
Why aren't they blue? Because I'm sure that they make them in blue as well. And
They
so
don't, but yeah, I hear you.
I've seen some dress shoes that have red bottoms and blue bottoms, and I just stay away from it altogether because I don't want to be dealing with no nonsense. And you know, I've been a hothead before, and I could be a hothead again. So I just try to stay away from it. So you guys, you didn't have this conversation. You didn't have this conversation with your group.
No. That came up because you mentioned that, in 20, you're talking about your implicit bias, but
Yeah.
we're gonna be all over the place a little bit. You've seen
That's
the
cool.
clip with Mike Tyson talking to Sugar Ray Leonard and who's the other cat that was there, where he's crying and he has like a full beard and he's like, sometimes I feel like a punk because that person that's in there, I know him and I'm afraid of him. Talking about himself. He's like, that demon in me, I just don't want him to come out, because if he does, he's out of control, but I feel like a punk because of blah, 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 blah. And when you say I used to be a hothead, you're just looking in the mirror. We know that, right? And about each other. And it didn't take much to spark the flame. And we wasn't, gangbanging and this, that, and the other, but, we had young black man syndrome or old black man syndrome, or just felt like, this is just who we are and what we can do. And I don't want to be that person. I have no desire to, I like actually maintaining my cool. And it's not hard work anymore, right? It's my new way, right? I am actually pretty calm. I am the person that you call me 3 minutes before we're supposed to be somewhere and be like, yo, I ain't gonna make it. I'd be like, all right.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it ain't worth my blood pressure going up. We canceling this? We gonna do it later? All right, well, let me know, Now, I do like to get to places on time, and if I say, hey, we leaving it, blah, 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 just because my girl watches this, she know I'm always on her about being on time. But, to lose it, like back in the day, to let it ruin my night or ruin your night because of it, nah, that's not me anymore.
I was watching a clip on some social media, probably TikTok or something, giving them some pub. And the title of it was self-defense. And there was this old guy, I would say he was 60, 70 years old. I think I even saved it. I'll send it to you. And he was in like a karate studio, and people around him was dressed in like karate gear. But he was giving a lecture about self-defense. And he was saying, if someone, I didn't catch the beginning. He was talking about someone went to jail. And so now this is his self-defense. He said, if someone comes at him sideways, his defense mechanism, for example, if you're out with your lady and you see me looking at her and you confront me, well, hey man, you looking at my girl? Yeah, I was looking at her. Are you Karen? Just throw out a name. You Susan? Right? No. I knew someone that looked like Susan. I didn't mean any offense by it. We dated years ago. Self-defense, right? Just diffusing everything left and right. He was diffusing everything, and I thought it was real interesting because as we get older, we'd rather kick it. We'd rather chill. Some people would say, "Oh man, you just a punk, man. You should have confronted that dude." I could do it, but I prefer not to.
Right.
I prefer to be a nice guy. I don't have to be a nice guy, but at my age, everything that I got going on, the children upstairs, I would prefer to be a nice guy, be able to come home and say, man, this guy, I got in this situation, and this is how I got out of it, without having to deal with fighting or me taking some lumps, him taking some lumps, me him getting stumped out, me getting stumped out, him getting shot, me getting shot. I'd rather eliminate all that if I could.
That's right. I'd rather get home, put my feet up, grab a beer, and tell the story.
Right.
So I will give you one more because we could go on here forever, and I really do want you to read it. But there was a section in there that talked about the black family struggle, right? And it talked about the black family being broken. And he was saying how much he really hates that term, because when you say the black family is broken, it almost is like it was designed that way. He says, what I'd rather say is the black family has been broken apart or torn apart. Right? Says, so we were a prideful people out of Nigeria. right before we were taken. So imagine you and your wife and your children and all the things that define who you are as a man and so forth, and then all of you are put on the ship and taken to another location, and the first thing that happens is your children are separated and sent somewhere else. You are made to work in the field after you've been beaten, abused. Your wife is publicly raped, and made to work in a different area and made to father children for the slave master, and so forth and so on, and you witness this over and over and over again. And those generations continue to pass and so forth and so on. And we still have brokenness in the black family that stems from slavery, stems from the post-slavery lifestyle. When the enslaved peoples were set free, a lot of them hit the road to find their families, right? And during that journey found years of prosperity before the Compromise of 1877, right? And started to build up legacies and so forth. And those families that weren't brought back together in some cases are still broken apart today, right? And so it talks about the history behind that. Now, you grew up with a mom and dad in the house, right? And they were married and built that family and so forth and so on. I grew up with just my mom, a few different boyfriends here and there. My father was married, not to my mom, and so that was part of that brokenness and so forth. And I've made my own determinations, raising families of not to have children out of wedlock, purposeful choice, no judgment on that for anybody else. Made my decisions about my presence in my boys and my children's lives and what that means to me. Even when myself and my oldest mother got divorced, we stayed within a mile or two of one another just so I could always be a presence in his life and not a visitation. So all of that was part of that discussion as well, and having them identify that the black family is not torn apart because black men are lazy and black women make bad decisions. There is a history that goes behind this that's really about a family trying to come back together and the obstacles in the way. What do you think about that?
The state of the black family in America is clearly by design, and I know that you've heard this phrase before. Every system is set up to function exactly as it's designed. America was set up on the backs of black men, slaves, black men and women, because they wanted to reproduce and fathers additional slaves. But you and I in the past couple of weeks, we've been talking about finding our roots and that legacy and going back to Africa. For you and me, it is really Nigeria. It looks like it's Nigeria where our largest percentage of our ancestors came from, and I am trying to find those roots. And if I haven't put it on my bucket list yet, but I plan on putting it on my bucket list, not just to go to Africa, but also kind of dig down into the weeds and figure out how far I could get back to my family, right? And I'm going to add it to my bucket list and make that a reality for me. In regards to what you said, that's really deep, man. It's really deep, and I think that as a family, as a people, and I want to talk about all Africans, we've been torn apart. And, it is a journey to try to figure out and put the pieces back together. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah, well said. Eloquently said. I think we could really dive real deep into what that looks like. And And that was just the surface, man. I would love to, have you read it, listen to it, and whether we do it on podcast or just have some deeper conversations on that. He also has a YouTube presence where he spent some time with different people groups. And when I say different people groups, he has like a section where he's talking to white police officers, he's talking to white doctors, he's talking to entities of people, particularly to discuss the black man's viewpoint, right? And doing very well for it. Young guy, he's not even 30. I think he's like 28, 29. But it's an interesting book. Like I said, it's not written to you. It's written about, I won't even say it's written about you. It's written to provide an explanation for some things that may relate to you, is the best way I could describe it, right? Because even he said, a lot of this is hard for me to write because none of it applied to me. First generation American. My parents are from Nigeria, and a lot of what we're experiencing here didn't apply to me. I grew up with two parents, didn't experience a lot of racism. My friends call me Oreo, blah, 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 blah. Wasn't black enough for this, wasn't so forth for that. And so he says, but, as the older I get, I recognize that, it's not about where I'm from, but where I am. And I'm going to leave you with this. I want to say it was EPMD. But my father always told me not to argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who's who. Right? And so when you look at where you grew up, because most of the time we say it's not where I'm at, but where I'm from, right? But when he said it's not where I'm from, but where I'm at, because if 30 of us being 30 black men, are out protesting. 1/6 of us are fed up. We want our voice to be heard. Another 6 have so much anger that rather than blowing something up, they want to go out and be part of something that's meaningful. Another 6 are just angry and have no other means to express themselves, even if it's irrational. Another 6 wants a flat screen TV. Another 6 wants to stand by just to see what happens. And another 6 got caught in the wrong spot at the right time. How do the police tell the difference?
Wow, that's deep, man.
Right? And not that we should have to be a certain way for the police, but what I'm saying is, when you put yourself in a general group of people, your pedigree doesn't matter anymore, right? They're not going to look at you and be like, oh, Caleb, you got 2 degrees, you're a homeowner, you're considering retirement, you've done all these good decisions in life. Go past, sir. David, oh, you ain't done nothing right since you were born. You got to stay here so we can persecute you. No, they're not going to look at all that, right? It's not where you're from, but where you're at.
So, Dave, as I've been sitting in silence, I've been listening to you, man. Tell our audience who they listening to.
You listening to the brothers from the 818. Your man Dave, 2 times, my man Caleb, and my new name, the Wordsmith. I like that. Yeah, I might even incorporate that somewhere, and here's a note from the Wordsmith, right? And kick him out something. So you've been catching us on YouTube or Facebook. You probably check us out on one of those 2 now. We're also available on all the streaming platforms: Google Music, Apple Music, Spotify, Audible. If it's streaming, we're out there. You can also catch our message on our website, brothersfromthe818.com. Tip that hat a little bit, Caleb. Caleb's rocking merchandise. There it is. We've got the BFT 818 logo. We got that on shirts and hats, and even his customized shirt straight out the 91331, Pacoima, California, for those of y'all who don't know. This is what we do. Tonight, you just got a glimpse of some conversations that we have unscripted. We like to talk about it. What I want you to do, you get a chance, check out Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man by Emmanuel Acho, or Acho, however you say his name. Good cat, good brother, good book. He also has a YouTube presence. You can check it out there. Share in the comments what you think, what your questions might be, and maybe you have some implicit biases. Maybe you have some things that you've always wanted an opportunity to be in front of a black man to ask. Well, you got two right here. And so if you're bold enough to ask the question and patient enough to sit for the answer, we can at least learn you a little bit and keep you on a better path. So that's all we got until we see you next time from the Brothers from the 818. Peace.
Peace.
You are down with
The Brothers from the